Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Joe Chaffee. I want to go over last night's European run because that was a very interesting run indeed, and I'm going to take you through it. Now, we're only going to be able to see 24-hour increments, so we're going to have to just imagine what happens in between. Okay, the easy part of this is going through the weekend, and you can see on the European that we've got a warm front that's going to come through with a nice little low up near the Great Lakes. We get into a southwest flow. We warm up into the 50s this weekend, and that's a given. Now, there's a cold front that's going to be coming through here on early Monday, and you can see there's a high up in North Dakota with high pressure spreading out east across the Great Lakes, and that high is going to gradually build. And this is all northeast flow that is occurring across eastern Canada down into the Great Lakes and the middle Mississippi Valley. We have low pressure that forms in central Louisiana, and that high actually different from the GFS, which has a disturbance in between and has one high center backup coming down in from central Canada, and the other high moves over into eastern Canada and pulls out. The European has that high pressure draped all the way around, and much stronger, by the way. It really builds it like crazy over Quebec. And by Wednesday evening, it has a low center just east of the Delmarva Peninsula, which then just kind of occludes out, and it shows a low center here. But this is really, by this point here, Thursday evening, it's pretty much done. The actual low pressure is probably somewhere out in the ocean. This is not unusual to see something like this. And then it just goes along its merry way. And we know that because it reaches peak intensity here, and then it weakens and just reforms out to the east and gone. Now, we've already seen, I'm going to go now to the upper air so we can take a look at what's happening, because even the European is changing its look from prior runs. And, this is going to continue today. When we get the new run, it's probably going to be a little bit different. And we'll back it up here. Take a look. And there's, now we're going in through the weekend. We've got that westerly flow across the United States. You start to see ridging developing on Sunday in the west, and you can see it just flies right up there. And there's your southern stream energy. The north is pretty active. We're getting back into some colder air. And there you have it at Tuesday evening, a pretty impressive southern stream feature. There's your northern stream feature here back over from Sault Ste. Marie, west-southwest into Iowa. The north basically just moves along, and then you have the southern stream system becoming very vigorous as it heads right overhead by Thursday evening. Now, in some ways, this is similar to what we saw back in January 23rd with the blizzard. There are always differences, and sometimes the differences are subtle, and sometimes the differences are a little more obvious. But the look is about the same, and it's all with the southern stream getting very strong. And the question is going to be how that cold air interacts with all this. Now, we've already seen a couple of cases, including in the case of the blizzard. Now, the blizzard, we had more Arctic air around. This is going to be less. But on the other hand, we had that weather event back a couple of weeks ago where all it took was a little bit of cold air aloft that just basically worked itself from the top down, and you wound up with some areas getting up to a foot of snow along the coast. So, look, everything is on the table at this point. We're still way early in the game. The European is very, it's very dynamic. The GFS last night kind of had the similar idea as the European did, the mid-run GFS, and I'll switch that over now. You can take a look, and it's a little different in that the southern stream is a little more vigorous on this run. You see it here, but it's not quite as pronounced as the European. And the GFS also has a vortex that drops down into Hudson's Bay with a stronger northern feature indicated than what the European has. And there have been times this winter where the GFS has been way overdone with some of these northern stream features. At other times it hasn't been. So we'll have to see, which model has the better idea. The GFS last night at the surface brings up, it's kind of a little different because it kind of has a lead low that comes out as that first high pulls out, and then the second high builds in as the energy concentrates itself on a very deep low near Charleston. I don't know if that's real or not. It's got a pretty wound up low here, and cold air initially doesn't get in to the coast. It does get into inland spots, and then gradually toward the end as the deep low pulls out. I mean, it has a very deep low east of New Jersey, south of Long Island, and cold air's coming in on the backside. So, this is going to be just something we're going to watch, continue to look at and see how it evolves. The European would suggest that cold air would be certainly more important, and we're going to have to focus on this time of year. You have to start looking at the subtleties in the atmosphere. You can't just automatically assume that what the run shows, especially this far out, is what's going to happen. So let's see what the afternoon's runs do, and we will post on this later today with a new Joe Stradamus post.